So this week four's readings, we had one from Breston and we had one from Cranston. I'm sorry, Brestoff. The Brestoff reading was very similar to the intro video that was given out earlier in the week about Stellar Adler, the hour-long video that we had as an intro to the chapter. And it really just talked about who she was as an actor and a teacher, as well as mentioning her parents, who were both very influential in her life, as they were both actors in the Yiddish theater in Europe. And so at the very top of the chapter, it talked about Stella Adler's strained relationship with the group theater, and specifically Lee Strasberg. And it talks about how when she came back from being in Paris and studying under Stanislavski, coming back and really refuting effective memory, how that affected the relationship, to where she would also start teaching classes through the notes that she brought back directly from Stanislavski. And then it talks about how she later, in the late 40s, opened up her theater over in New York. And how that theater ran up until her death in 1992. And actually, by the time she died in 1992, she had two schools, one in New York and one in Los Angeles. But the thing that I took away from that chapter really was how, like, her focus was more on imagination, circumstances, and specifically actions by the characters. And she still used a somewhat watered down version, well, not watered down, but a less intense version, let's say, of substitution, where, you know, the actor could summon a somewhat parallel experience from their own lives for the sake of having a playable action from that specific memory. And she really dealt with physical embodiment and the emotions closer to the style of what was needed for imagination, and not affective memory. And then for the Cranston was very short this week. It was the end of the book, actually, in the version of the book that I have, and it was only like 5 pages. But it really focuses more on her quote-unquote theory, or the lack thereof of a theory, as she didn't specifically have a method like Meisner or Strasberg, but she did have a style and a system that she used in order to teach her students and try to help them tackle the emotional work that is in the script, right? And just like what happened with Strasberg and his school, Adler's conservatory has been absorbed into a collegiate program. NYU's BFA program is a main collaborator with the conservatory for Adler, and they use her style in their conservatory for their BFA, their 3-year program. And again, I really appreciate the fact that she focuses more on doing instead of like the emotion-centric acting that you have to really take on with the method of Strasberg, right? And she doesn't really deal with the over-intellectualizing, and she really does character-driven narratives instead of like the sing-songy delivery that a lot of people do with Shakespeare when they read the Bard, and they have to hit the notes, and the notes have to go in a specific order, and as it sound like this, so that they hit all the lines. They can make sure that they count. She didn't deal with that, and her school to this day doesn't deal with that. it really takes on what the text is trying to convey and making sure that you can find it in the voice of the character to do it, and not about how pretty it sounds and how uniform it sounds, but that it's emotionally up to par and up to register. So yeah, those were my takeaways for this week, for Stella Adler.